Welcome to Fantasy Football Today Express. I'm today's host, Heath Cummings. He's Dave Richard. Dave, right off the top, was this the best week of NFL football we've had all year?
Yes. I can't think of more games that were exciting and close. There's some numbers that are bad out there, but this was fun. This was a really good week. There was a lot to be entertained by. Hopefully your fantasy matchups were just as entertaining, but ended in your favor.
Patrick Mahomes finally scored 22 fantasy points in a game. I think it was the first time in like 13 regular season games. And you know what? There were so many fantasy points today that he's not even going to be a top 12 quarterback.
Heath, there are 16 quarterbacks, 16 quarterbacks through the late games on Sunday that have at least 20 fantasy points. And Mahomes is among them. He's not even going to be top 12. But let me give you some quarterbacks who weren't in that top 16.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels, CJ Stroud, Tua Tagovailoa, Joe Burrow, Anthony Richardson, Caleb Williams, Jordan Love. Love got hurt, but yikes, man. A lot of quarterbacks that were started with good intentions in mind really were rotten in week 8. So that's one of the worst parts about week 8.
So I think that's a good place to start because we're going to talk a little bit about winners and losers. We don't have to go necessarily with the guys we're going to talk about in a few minutes.
Yeah.
On the big show, those three quarterbacks that stuck out to me were CJ Stroud, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels. Let's put them on the worryometer because CJ Stroud now another really bad game. And I thought, I don't know how much of his game you watched. They didn't do a good job of protecting him, but he was not on target.
No.
Where is CJ Stroud on the worryometer?
He's fairly up there, and he's going to be one of those guys where I don't know if I'm going to be ready to cut him. There might be some circumstances where I would, but I certainly don't feel like he's a slam dunk must start anymore. And this was supposed to be a game where he could bounce back and not deal with a lot of pressure. Indy wasn't known for that, but they were in this game. You are right. He was pressured. I think he had one great throw when he was flushed out of the pocket. That was to Mechie on a big play. I'm worried about that offensive line. I'm worried that he's not the same guy. And we saw Steph Diggs go down with an injury. So I'm not sure who he's got left to throw to, at least for one more week. And then I think we're one game away from Nico coming back. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Heath.
Well, we're one game from him being available to come back.
Okay,
yeah, we hope that he comes back in one game. So let's talk about Caleb Williams because.
Well, I was just going to say Stroud has the Jets on the road on a short week. This seems like a good time to move away from Stroud. And
not a top 20 quarterback. Not a top 20 quarterback next week.
I don't think so.
No. Okay. Is Caleb Williams, because that was three quarters of absolutely disastrously bad play. And then even late in the game, I thought it was they had two straight quarterback draws they call when they're trying to go in from the gate for what they thought was the game-winning touchdown. Yeah. Didn't seem to trust him at all. That corner fade that he threw to DJ Moore, I think he might have thrown it higher than he threw it far.
The moon ball, it might have, literally hit the moon. It was crazy. I've never seen a throw like that. Maybe not since Ryan Fitzpatrick was under center. But yeah, terrible look for the Bears to come out super flat in the first half against Washington. Remember, they were coming off of a bye. This should have been a game where they were, right in their bag and certainly in step like they were before the bye. And really, they didn't get going until Swift had that long touchdown run. And then Caleb Williams really didn't get going until the fourth quarter. I'm not willing to give Caleb a pass. He's got Arizona next week. I keep looking ridiculous by saying Arizona is a terrible defense when they mostly held up against Miami. So I can't say that that's an easy game for Caleb Williams either. However, if I'm stuck between Stroud and Caleb Williams, I think I'm going to start Caleb Williams.
I think we got a correction in the chat. So he says, how is Daniels not top 16? Did you see the end? And yes, we saw the end. And somehow Jaden Daniels, after a pretty poor performance, finished with 24 fantasy points. So I think, yeah.
Why does my sheet say that he didn't?
Maybe your sheet didn't see the end, but Jaden Daniels, the second best.
It's crazy. It's not giving him the touchdown. Yes, of course he did. That's terrible.
The second best rookie quarterback of week 8. Dave, Bo Nix exceeded. I was too low on Bo Nix exceeded my wildest expectations.
Yeah. Where'd
Completely
you have him? Where'd you have him? Tell everybody.
11th. He was QB 11 for me this week.
Wow. What a call. Good for you, man.
Like the Carolina Panthers, clearly the free square for quarterbacks, not so much for Javonte Williams and the Broncos running backs. I guess my question is, does this mean anything at all for Bo Nix? Or was this just a random one-off against a terrible opponent? For reference, next week, he plays the pass funnel Baltimore Ravens.
And then after that, it's Kansas City.
Well, let's just talk about next week because, after that, it gets bad.
So I still think the Ravens pass rush is pretty good. I think they'll give Bo Nix some trouble. I'm not going to rank Bo Nix top 12 next week, and I don't think I'm going to rank him top 12 the week after that. I would lean toward this as a one-off where, he's fine as maybe a bye week quarterback, but not somebody that I want to reliably start on.
So we do have two teams on a bye next week, and we have Baker without his receivers against the Chiefs, and we have Stroud against the Jets. I'm probably ranking Bo Nix top 12 again next week, and then definitely not against Kansas City. Let's take a short break here, and we'll talk about one of your winners, Dave. Okay, so we're back. It was National Tight Ends Day. Spoiler alert, Jamie sent in his winners for the big show, and it was just every tight end. But there was an especially good tight end today, Dave. Cade Otton, first game, full game without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, completely dominates. 22% target share now over the last 2 weeks. Is Cade Otton, until Mike Evans comes back, just a top 5 tight end?
I would assume so. And if he's not top 5, then he's like top 6, top 7. The bottom line is that he is a must-start tight end. I'm not going to count on him to score touchdowns like this every single week, but target volume, I mean, we talked about that on Tuesday. He's going to get it. And the thing that swayed me was that I figured Jamie kind of had to talk me into it a little bit, but he had a better chance of seeing more targets than Hunter Henry. And I'm glad I came around on Otton, and I hope everybody else did too. I fully expect him to see north of 6 targets every single game. This was an exceptional game. And it was a little weird too, because all the good numbers seemed to go to the running backs and to Otton, and not really to the wide receivers for Tampa. So they were able to operate this way. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep operating this way, because defenses will catch up pretty quick to teams that are just going to throw to their running backs and tight ends. But as far as Cade Otton goes, I don't see why you wouldn't have confidence in him.
I want to go back to the quarterbacks to finish up, Dave, because the other guy who was just spectacular, scored 2 more fantasy points than Bo Nix, Kirk Cousins, has now had 3 good games. 2 of them, I think, QB1 overall. Both of those against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who is Kirk Cousins right now?
He's a guy that beats up on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and is otherwise probably more of a low-end starting fantasy quarterback. It's the only way I can see it right now, because you're right. His other games this season really haven't been amazing, and he hasn't been consistent either. But when he's rolling, he's rolling. And I told you, whenever there were games where push comes to shove, the Falcons need something on offense, it's not going to be Bijan that they're just going to, lean into. It's going to be Cousins. And this was one of those games.
And he did it with Kyle Pitts. He did it with Darnell Mooney. He did it mostly without Drake London. A great day for Kirk Cousins. A great day for Bo Nix. A terrible, terrible day for Caleb Williams. You know what? It's going to be a great night on Fantasy Football Today. In just a moment, we'll talk to you then.